Coming up, we have stories about ruined birthday parties, child-free wedding drama, deceptive spouses, tough parenting decisions, cleaning drama, stinky petty revenge, and of course, cake and spicy stories. Reminder, the latest episode of Thunder and Spark is now on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Have you watched it yet? Am I the astronaut for walking out of my birthday party? It was my 20th birthday and my boyfriend threw me a party. I knew this party was happening and was excited for it. Unfortunately, it did not turn out how I expected. I wore my best dress and made myself up to look really nice. When I arrived, my boyfriend commented to his friend that, "Wow, she finally made an effort to look nice." Good job, buddy. This shocked me and I was really hurt. I don't know why he'd say something like that. I do. Because he's that. I chose to ignore it and just went around the venue talking to guests, etc. The next thing that happened is my nephew accidentally spilled his drink on my dress. It stained the dress and he was very apologetic. I told him it's okay, but I was upset about it inside. I went to find my boyfriend and told him what happened and that I'm going to go home and change. We don't live far. He said I'm just being dramatic and materialistic and that I should just stay. I told him I don't feel comfortable being at my party all night with a wet, stained dress. So he said, "Let me walk with you as it's getting dark." We did that, I changed, and we went back to the party. An hour or so later, my boyfriend's friend, the one I mentioned previously, made a comment to me about my body. It was an uncomfortable comment about it looking good. I told him to stop. My boyfriend then comes over and the friend repeats the comment to him. My boyfriend laughs and I got upset. My boyfriend said, "I can't take a joke." I had enough and I just walked out and went home without saying anything to anyone. My boyfriend came home not too long afterwards and said that I ruined everyone's night by being boring and walking out. I'm so upset by the way the night went and I'm so unclear if this was my fault or not. Okay, so the question is, am I the astronaut for walking out of my birthday party? No. Let's get that out of the way first. No, this is an NTA. I think there's an error in your title though, because you say my birthday party. I don't think this was your birthday party. I think your brozo boyfriend here threw a party. Kind of sounds like he threw himself a party, or just a party just for him to have fun with his bros. And your birthday was just kind of an afterthought of all of this. I think if you're actually caring for someone and throwing a party for them, you make them the priority, right? And if they express discomfort or a wish or something, you take that into consideration instead of dismissing them and telling them that they're overreacting or being materialistic and dramatic and that you can't take a joke. No, all of those things were extremely dismissive. OP was made to feel like her feelings didn't matter at all at her birthday party. I don't think anything that happened here was really for her at all. I don't think he knows how to do that or just doesn't care to. He already got the Brozo Award, that's for sure. You think they're evil? Or is there an element of just ignorance to this? I mean, she's 20. It was 20th birthday party. I mean, young dudes obviously have a lot to learn, especially about relationships. He's at least a 2, because he dismissed everything that she said. And if I was at my own birthday party and I had gussied myself up, was wearing a nice suit or something, and somebody spilled something on it, I'd be like, I wouldn't want to stay. I would want to change, right? I mean, it's your night. You should be comfortable. You should be perfectly happy with everything that's going on. And if there's something that you want to change, then somebody stopping you and telling you that you're being dramatic is garbage. It's garbage. I'm going to put him at a 2. I don't think he's an evil human yet. I think he's a dumbass. He may be on his way to becoming an ASCOM 1 evil piece of shit. But right now, I think he's an oblivious idiot brozo. It could be worse. I'm giving him hope. I'm giving him some hope here. That is notwithstanding the body shaming, not body shaming, but the body comments by the friend, and then the boyfriend laughing about it and telling her she needs to take a joke. It does make everything worse. He upped himself at that point from not just being an idiot and not just being a brozo and not just not caring truly about his girlfriend here or respecting her wishes, but then went one step further whenever that happened, and now it's a whole nother level of shit. So sucks. I tried to give him a little bit of leeway, tried to give him some hope for redemption here, and he just shot himself in the foot with it. So way to go, buddy. Way to go, buddy. Am I the astronaut for not going to my brother's child-free wedding because my son wasn't invited and his cousins were? Recently, my family was invited to my brother's wedding. Me, my husband, our daughter 21, and our son 18. Everyone except our younger son 16 because it is a child-free wedding. I called my brother to confirm that my son wasn't invited because I have been to a child-free wedding before that is 13 plus or 16 plus, and my son won't be behaving badly or need such close supervision as a younger child would. My brother was very apologetic and said that he can't make exceptions to his rule and that some of his friends had much younger kids and he didn't want to look like he was showing favoritism by allowing a 16-year-old to come. That was fine by me. I understand child-free weddings. I had a child-free wedding prior to having kids. My brother has 2 children of his own from a previous marriage, 16 and 17, and 2 of my sister's kids are also under 18, 13 and 15, and I assumed none of them would be invited either. The wedding is in a different country and my family will be flying out for the weekend. My 16-year-old is a bit sad about not being invited because he and my brother are close. I also don't want to leave him alone for the weekend, so I've made a plan that on the night of the wedding, he and his cousins could hang out in the hotel, use the pool, get room service, and make a night of it. Then the next day we could explore the city as a family, so my son doesn't feel sad about being left out. When I told my brother about the plan, he thought it was a great idea, but when I told my sister, she was surprised and said her kids had been invited and that she didn't know it was child-free. 18 plus, she had checked with my brother who told her it was 13 plus, so my niece was invited. So we both called my brother who admitted that my son is the only one under 18 in the immediate family who has not been invited, though he wouldn't say why despite my pushing him. My sister and I have both decided to not attend as we are both pissed off at him, and she loves my 16-year-old. My mother is calling us both up saying that we're being childish and letting my brother down. My brother's soon-to-be wife is also furious at us and says that my brother is distraught and that my son was excluded for a good reason, once again not saying the reason. My brother-in-law, sister's husband, is also upset and blaming me for my sister not going, and I am starting to feel bad and wish I had just let sleeping dogs lie. But am I the astronaut? Edit. A few people have asked, and I just wanted to mention that we are a Christian family. My brother's soon-to-be wife being much more religious than the rest of us, though we all still go to church. Except my son who stopped being Christian a few years ago. I don't mind it personally, but it has caused some discontentment. I'm not saying that this is the reason at all, just if I were guessing. Well, it's a pretty good guess, right? I mean, this is the only thing that's different about him, at least that we've heard about to this point. They never came out and said, here is the specific reason, which is an indicator that they know it's wrong, right? I mean, if they say it's for a good reason, but they won't reveal that reason, what reason do they have to hide it? Except that they know they'll look like a big piece of shit if they say it out loud. Also, as a Christian, wouldn't they be that much more compelled to have a non-Christian come in and expose them to the faith? And, wouldn't that be the Christian-like thing to do? This is, if that is the reason that they are not inviting him, it's a terrible thing. OP's question here is, am I the astronaut for not going to my brother's child-free wedding because my son wasn't invited and his cousins were? No, I think standing your ground here is a solid thing, and your son is going to be very appreciative of it down the road here. Now, unless they come out and give you some kind of different reason, which at this point, even if they do, the fact that they withheld it this long is indicating that they know it's wrong. It's garbage. They aren't consistent in what they're saying here at all. So they're singling this one kid out. This 16 freaking year old kid is getting singled out for an out of country wedding. That's rough, folks. That's rough. I don't know how they can do that and be like, yeah, this feels right. This feels good. This feels good. I mean, like, what impact is his presence going to have on the wedding? I don't understand that. And if you're going to treat one person this way, enjoy not having a whole bunch of us there. Now, OP's sister's husband, so OP's brother-in-law, is pissed. But he's pissed because now he doesn't get to go overseas to a wedding. Like, just grain of salt that one, push it to the side. That opinion doesn't matter because it's selfishly compelled. I'm leaving that one alone here. That is redonkulous. Joyful stranger, I don't want to be there. Yeah, I legitimately feel like them not revealing that reason is just the biggest sign there can be that they know it's wrong. Abby, you make a good point here. He's ruined his relationship with the nephew, not inviting him and inviting everybody else. Yeah, because he had a good relationship with the nephew before, so this has to be his soon-to-be bride pulling the strings and demanding this, right? And how the F does that work? Do they look at the guest list and she's like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how religious is each person on this list? And they get to him and he's like, oh yeah, he denounced his faith. I don't think he can come. He's a minor. His parents and his siblings would be coming. I know, that's rough. that's pretty shitty. That's pretty shitty. Okay, we've got NTA for OP here. Where does Bro and his soon-to-be bride stand here? Again, we don't know for a fact what the reason is, but I think we can deduce at this point that it is because of his faith, and they're singling him out here. I'm curious what chat has to say here. And it's 1s and 2s across the board here. I think it definitely feels like an ASCON 1 terrible human thing to do, and to use religion as a scapegoat for this. And it's not even, I don't even know that you can call it a scapegoat because it's the only reason that has been claimed right now, or that we have. Jen says ASCON 1, regardless of reason, they're singling out a child for no good reason. You know what? And I would contest here that Bro is beyond an ASCON 2 because he did have a good relationship with this 16-year-old boy and still allowed this to happen, knowing how it was going to make this kid feel and knowing that the truth would come out eventually and it was going to harm that relationship even more. And refusing to reveal the reason because they knew it was wrong. ASCON 1. That's a terrible thing to do to someone. Because of a personal choice that they made, it's not going to have any effect on your wedding. That's ridiculous. It's not okay. Not okay. This cake story is from the AITA subreddit and is titled, Will I Be the Astronaut for Not Paying for a Cake? Last week was my 27 female partner's 28 female birthday. We went all out and he had a huge party that required a large cake. There's this bakery that we've been wanting to try that does extremely custom cakes, and we decided this party was the best opportunity to order from them. The bakery is 2 hours away, so the morning of the party, I drove to get it while my partner finished setting up for the party. It went great. The cake was amazing. We were very happy. Only I noticed the next day as I was checking my bank statement that I was charged for this cake twice on 2 separate days. This cake was extremely expensive, so I was very shocked to see that had happened. I forwarded my bank statement to the business and spoke to them over the phone about it. In no way was I trying to sound accusatory, and they kept saying over and over that they didn't charge me twice, and they didn't know why the money came out of my account twice on 2 separate charges. They decided to issue me a refund for one of the charges. I received the refund the day after our phone call, and I thought it was done. But the day after, I received another refund. 2 refunds for 2 charges. So essentially, I never paid for this large custom cake. I wanted to drive back down to the bakery and pay for the cake again and make sure it was paid for correctly, but my partner told me to leave it be. She said it was clearly an error on their part if they had accidentally charged me twice and refunded me twice, so I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. We really liked this cake and I'm sure would order from them in the future, so I feel really guilty not paying for this cake. I'm sure it took a while to complete. Would I be the astronaut for not paying for it after their error? Man, so as a small business owner here, I feel like there's too much potential harm involved. It's not just like the supplies for that cake. It's, whatever time they paid people to do that as well. If it was an expensive cake, they're out a good chunk of money. And I don't know how many extremely custom cakes this shop can crank out per day. But if you just took out like an entire day's worth of revenue for this business, say they're open Monday through Friday, that's 1/20th of their revenue for the month. That's a BFD. You know what I mean? It's a big deal. Now, it's possible that they intentionally refunded it twice because they found the double charge there and they were like, hey, just for the trouble, here you go. However, unlikely if it was this big of a deal. I think the DFHB thing to do is to let them know what happened and pay back that one charge, especially if you enjoyed it, especially if you want to do business with this bakery again. I think it's a must. At the end of the day, though, I think it comes down to what's your heart telling you, and are you going to be able to sleep at night if you don't do this? I think based on what you're saying here, OP, you already feel like the asshole just for the possibility of not paying for it. I think the tax that you are going to feel emotionally and spiritually, physically, mentally for not doing this, for doing something that you know in your bones is wrong, is going to cost you more than it would to pay for the freaking cake. So pay for the cake, because that's going to feel good to you to do the right thing. And then you won't have to deal with that angst. It's not going to keep you up at night. It's not going to be a dark cloud that follows you around. Like happens whenever you do something that you know is wrong. It follows you around. There is a tax on it. We talked about this on Sunday night, I think. The tax that comes from doing the wrong thing or spreading hate or choosing something that you know is wrong is greater than the price of time or effort of doing good. It will cost you more to not pay this. And I guess that's the bottom line. But you get to choose, like, and your partner saying to just let it go, that's this for me on the partner, right? It's like, oh, would you really be okay with that? Because I think it says a little bit about who you are as a person. And maybe she's just not thinking it through. But I think it says a lot about a person, how they handle these kind of situations. And yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome if you just got free money, but the potential impact to a small business could be incredibly damaging. Like the people who own that business may not get paid this month if you choose not to do this. You know what I mean? It's unless you run a small business or are very familiar as like a service provider or something, I don't think people understand how shoestring it really is. Tony Spark has thoughts?
Well, and they also said that they would order from there again, but if you don't go back and pay for that cake, they're going to know that they didn't get paid for it, and you're going to try to order one again, and they're going to be like, well, hold on. This person didn't pay for their last one. Maybe
they're going to know, but that's where part of this comes in, is that clearly they've got some kind of issue on the billing side of things too. So they may not 100% know. This could be happening across the board for them, where they could be double billing people. And then when people come back and say that and they try to reverse it, it double reverses it. So they could have big problems here. And this might be the first instance of what could be that recurring problem. And if this happened to us as a small business, I would really need that first person to tell me so that I could start diving into the problem and figure out what it is before we went out of business, right?
And sometimes with whether it's QuickBooks or, Square, some of those POSs, like sometimes it's out of
shit happens
their control and there's a glitch or there's something that goes wrong and they may not realize that they charge twice. And they may not know that happened.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's a sucky situation.
They may not know, but the potential impact on that small business, I think, is too great. More so, the potential impact on your spirit as a person is too great. And I think that's the bottom line is, what's going to make you feel better. And hopefully you do what you feel is right and explain that to your partner and your partner gets on board with it. This is from the AITAH subreddit and is titled, "Am I the astronaut for calling off my marriage because my husband lied to me? I, 29 female, have been with my now ex-fiance, 32 male, for 5 years. We got engaged about a year ago, and a little after that we discussed having kids. I was an only child. I can't imagine having kids. It feels restraining. I'm a person who's dedicated to my job, and I don't want to put anything or anyone before it or before my passion, traveling. I can't imagine traveling with kids. It would be a nightmare. My ex knew this about me. He knew it since we met. He told me that he never wanted kids either. However, 3 weeks ago, I discovered that he was lying to me. We were eating dinner and he told me that he changed his mind about having kids and now he wants kids. I thought he was joking, so I brushed it off. He got upset at this and walked away. I followed him and asked him what was wrong. He said that he didn't like how careless I was about the subject. I told him that I thought he was joking, but that just made him angrier. He said that he would never joke about something like that. I was confused since he had told me that he didn't want kids. He continued to tell me that he lied about not wanting kids because he loves me and wants to be with me. Well, he loved most of you, right? I got mad for one, he lied to me, and then what was the plan after that? But to manipulate me, make me feel guilty until he convinced me to have kids I didn't want? My mom didn't want kids. That's why I was the only one. I was the trial run. So as a kid whose mom didn't want her, I would never want to make anyone feel as unloved and left out as I did as a child. My ex knew this. I told him that many times. I took some time to think about it until last week I told him that I wanted to call off the marriage. He was surprised and angry. He told me to leave, and I did. I've been staying with my aunt until I can get an apartment. My ex keeps calling me and trying to make me feel guilty, but I won't let him. I know what I want. Am I the astronaut for calling off my marriage? Hell no. Hell no. It was a relationship built on a foundation of lies. That's it. That's all we need to say. We're gonna say more, obviously, but that's all we need to say. It was built on a foundation of lies. He intentionally lied and then thought, you know what, somewhere down the line, I'll convince her. She'll come around. Now, caveat here, people's desires change. People's goals in life change. People's definition of success changes. Hell, mine used to be Ferraris and airplanes, and now it's time. My definition of success now is being able to spend time with my family. Not Ferraris, not airplanes, not riches. It is flexibility to have time and live a quality life. People's priorities and desires do change. And if he had stuck to this, like, I just changed my mind, I was around people with kids and I started realizing it more that I think I really do want this. And if he had really changed, then he would understand their need to part ways, because if his life goals don't align with hers, they are incompatible. And he would be okay with that because his desire for kids would be driving the boat there. But he lied because he loved her and wanted to stay with her and just thought he'd be able to make her come around. Now, obviously, he didn't try very hard. He didn't play the long game here. Maybe if he had played the long game and put her in situations that allowed OP to maybe change her mind herself, that's one thing. That's one thing. Like exposing her to the possibility of breaking the cycle and wanting that in life, giving her the opportunity, providing a fertile ground for pun intended, unintended. Providing a fertile ground for her to potentially change her mind herself is one thing. Just telling her that you changed your mind so she needs to change hers is not how it works. It doesn't work like that. He knew going into this thing, he lied about it with the intention of changing her later on. That is not how that works. You can't accept 90% of someone and be like, that 10% is going to need to change, but I'll tackle that later. Candy Thunder goes, this is a big deal. This is one of those things that she had a firm no kids policy and had really good reasons why. And he accepted that or pretended like he did. And then to come out at this point and not the way that he approached it bugs the hell out of me. That he didn't say like, I just changed my mind and I hoped it would be something that you would change your mind about too. And if it's not, then we shouldn't be together. He would rather spend a lifetime with OP and just be furious with each other and miserable, both of them all the time, than to actually live a life of happiness. And that's the weird part. Like, why? If this is that big of a deal to your happiness, why would you self-sabotage? Well, and she said, what was the plan? To manipulate me into having kids that I don't want? And yeah, it could be much worse than that. Ugh. But again, people's desires change. And if they had just changed for him, it would be one thing. But the fact that he admitted to lying up front and then just planning to change her later on is where he becomes a giant asshole. I don't know. So you were NTA here, OP. Your ex-fiance here is definitely an ASCON one. Openly lied about it and didn't give a shit what your reasons were or what you wanted. Just because he changed his mind or admitted that he had this desire the whole time He just assumed that you'd flip over to his side too, and just put all that past trauma out of the way, and just accept that you're not going to get the future that you want. You're no longer in control of your own life. He wants this now, so just do away with it all. What is he maliciously going to impregnate her? Because that's not okay. There's no short of like trying to provide more opportunities for her to see that she might change her mind later on, and that's all he could do is provide those opportunities. That's it. He couldn't do anything beyond that and still be a decent person. It was malice from the very beginning, which is terrible. Terrible. This one comes from the AITAH subreddit and is titled, "Am I the astronaut for calling my wife a vindictive biatch for refusing to do anything for my kids, even though they told her to stop trying to pretend she's their mom?" Just based off title, panic moonwalk out of this. This feels like a very awkward situation that I would not want to be in. I met Anne 2 years after my first wife, Susan, died. We've been married for 10 years. I have 2 daughters with Susan, Molly, 14, and Rose, 16. Anne and I have 2 sons, Tom, 5, and Paul, 2. Anne has used to be really involved with helping keep Susan's memory alive and accepting her place in the girls' lives, but after she got pregnant with Tom, she started to push her role as mom onto the girls, which caused many fights between Susan's family and me. She stopped celebrating Susan on Mother's Day and Christmas and even refused to attend what would have been Susan's 40th birthday at my in-laws' house. Anne has been a great mother to my girls over the years. She has been very hands-on with everything, like helping them with school and hobbies and having celebrations and birthdays planned months in advance. My oldest daughter, Rose, got pregnant 4 months ago, and the father isn't in the picture, so Anne has been doing everything to help and plan for the baby. I thought their relationship was becoming stronger. She even had Anne plan her gender reveal and baby shower. But 2 weeks ago, Susan's mother and sister came to visit, and they were having a conversation. A mother-in-law brought up how hard it must be on Rose to be alone in this without her mom, especially during her first pregnancy, and it breaks her heart that she had to grow up without a mother. Anne then smashed a plate on the ground, which shocked everyone into silence, and said, "What about me? I've been there every step of the way. Me, not you, me. She has a mother who takes great care of her." Molly screamed at Anne to not speak to her grandmother like that, and she wasn't their mom, just their dad's wife, so she needs to stay in her lane. A crying Rose said that she wished it was Anne dead instead of her mom, and she's sick of pretending to like her so she can stop trying to play pretend like she's their mom. Anne said, "Okay, fair enough. I'll stop playing mom from now on. I'll just focus on the kids I gave birth to." Anne left the house for a few hours, and when she came home, she just checked on the boys who were in bed and went to sleep, ignoring me. We had a conversation the next morning. I suggested family counseling, and everyone apologizes for the hurtful things they said to each other. She said there was no need, and she was making breakfast and to wake up her kids. When I got the boys ready and woke up the girls, we went down for breakfast. I noticed Anne didn't make any breakfast for Molly and Rose. She then sat down and started talking to me about she was going grocery shopping later. Did I need anything? Then said no when the girls told her what they needed. It's been like this for 2 weeks. She won't do anything for the girls or even speak to them unless she has to. She treats them like roommates. I tried to speak to her about it multiple times and tried to have family discussions about what happened because the girls are extremely sorry, but Anne will simply say she's given them the relationship they asked for. Today was meant to be Rose's gender reveal, but Anne canceled everything she planned and failed to mention it till Rose asked her 2 days ago, so I couldn't plan a decent party in time. Anne didn't even attend. She went to see her parents, which really hurt Rose. I was so angry at Anne, the minute she came home, I lost it on her. I called her a vindictive bitch and that I'm sick of her acting like a child, that she was 42 years old playing mind games with teenagers, and if she kept it up, we'd be getting a divorce. She just gave me back her wedding ring, packed a bag for her and our sons, and then left. I've tried to call her, but she won't answer. Both of my girls haven't left their room crying, blaming themselves for what happened. As a reminder, the kids' ages are Molly, 14, Rose, 16. And the 2 sons that OP has with Anne are 5 and 2. They've been married for 10 years. And to help give us some feedback on this story, we have the one, the only, Candy Thunder. Oh my God, it's Candy Thunder!
What would you do in this situation? I don't blame her for doing what she did.
I don't blame her for doing what she did either.
She has been in their life for a decade. So she started being their stepmom when they were 4 and 6. So really, for the most part, it's all the girls know. But it sounds like to me that the dad is letting the mom of his deceased wife run the show when it comes to the girls because it's easier. And it sounds like the mom of the deceased wife is like, if something happened to me and you met someone that could take care of our children, like that would make me happier than, I mean, anything that I could ever want. I would want someone to step up and be a mom to my kids. I would want someone to take care of them the way that I would take care of them. And that's what this woman was doing. And I would never want my kids to talk to someone who, even if it was, Ava doesn't have a stepmom, but even in that respect, I would want that person, I would want her to respect that person and, be friends with that person and have a relationship with that person. And it sounds like that the dad is not encouraging that type of relationship. The mom, who lost her daughter and is not encouraging that relationship. They just want her to take care of things and not get any acknowledgement. And I don't think that's fair. I think that sucks.
Agreed. I think so where this started going sideways, it feels like, and this was an Anne thing, is whenever mother-in-law of Susan, right? Susan's mom, obviously is a shit stirrer. She's a pot stirrer. Like she likes to create problems where they don't exist. It happened here, but Anne was triggered, right? So she smashed the plate.
Surely, yeah.
And yeah, it is hard. I'm sure it is difficult for the girls not to have their bio mom there with them to go through this.
Yes,
I'm sure that 100%. Is hard. I don't know that the breaking of the plate right then, which is really what blew this thing up, was warranted. I'm sure she felt offended because she receives no praise for all of the work she does for those girls, right? She's an unsung hero here. For these girls, and felt completely ignored by it.
In order for someone to get to that.
Mother-in-law pushed it to that point, but mother-in-law took advantage of that and was like, "You're not their mom. Don't talk to them like that." But then the teenage girls buying into that and saying, "I can stop pretending like I like her now." Okay, well, the minute they cross that line, it's what we say, you can't treat people like shit and then expect them to do favors for you. Right, so Anne pulled back.
You don't get to breaking a plate for something that is a one-off. Like that, this has had to have happened time upon time upon time again. Right. And finally she got to that breaking point, literally, and broke a plate and was like, F this, I'm done. Like, if you don't want me to do this, and this is not the first time that Susan's mom has insulted Anne. There's no way. And she's put up with it time and time again. And then now she's like, you know what? Fine, I'm done. I wash my hands of it. Grandma, you step up. Aunt, you step up. Right. You be the mom, because I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do this and then be shit on for a decade and take any more of your crap when I'm here every day, day in, day out, making them breakfast, doing all the stuff that a mom does. And again, we say this all the time, like, parents are who you choose. And in this moment, they didn't choose for their mom, something to happen to their mom. That's not what happened, but that's the hand that they got dealt in life. Yeah. And you have to make the best of it. And I would want my mom, if something happened to me, I would want her to encourage my kids to embrace the mom that they had. And that's, I couldn't want that anymore if something happened. Like, this sucks for the woman that's been trying to parent 2 girls who lost their mom.
It sounds like it's tough for everybody here, except for mother-in-law, who just wants to bitch about everything, right? but doesn't want to step up at all. No. Just wants to bitch about it and throw the pity parties, and that's it. Hubby here, OP, feels like a coward. Feels like he's got no power or authority in any situation. He's just being blown by the breeze, and he's just, whatever happens, he's along for the ride. And and the fact that he didn't stand up for her at any point in time, he talks about it like he wasn't even there.
It's very,
what I mean?
Yeah, it's very strange.
So I don't know.
It's like she's a placeholder, and she's there to take care of the kids.
Right.
Like, that's her job, and it's not to be like, but don't overstep, because then that's too much. So you have to thread this little tiny line, but you can't cross it, or else you're going to get called out by Susan's family. I don't know. That's a hard spot to be, and she's been doing that for a really long time. So I understand why she snapped.
So she just finally cracked. This wasn't like an unwarranted one-off kind of situation. This was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I mean, that's how I see the situation.
She was Cinderella as the stepmom.
Right. Yeah, I guess.
Which is an interesting twist.
And I mean, these are young girls. Like 14 and 16 is young. Rose is 16 and pregnant. That is very young. But also to bring someone into your house that is allowed to talk to your stepmom or Ann that way, you can't expect the girls not to see that behavior and follow suit because that's their family. The dad made it okay to talk to Ann like that. And so why wouldn't Molly and Rose talk to Ann like that? He like doubled down and said, "You're a vindictive bee. And I'm threatening you with divorce." And she's like, "Well, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm out."
All right. The question was, am I the astronaut for calling my wife a vindictive biatch for refusing to do anything for my kids, even though they told her to stop trying to pretend she's their mom? Yeah.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
Hey!
Third time's the charm.
Finally worked.
Yeah.
AskCon 1.
This guy broke the scale.
This is from the AITA subreddit and is titled, "Am I the astronaut for refusing to pay the difference in my kid's bank account?" What? When my kids were born, I opened them a savings account, and both me and my mom put the same amount of money in there monthly. My daughter had been working since she was 12. She did little jobs around town until she was 14, and since then has had an actual job. She didn't touch a penny from that money and put all of it in the savings account. So obviously, she has more money than her twin. When my kids went to college, the same one but different degrees, we sent them money monthly that was enough for their basics and some extra. If they wanted anything else, then they needed to take it out of their bank account. They got access to it at 18, which is when we stopped putting money in it. My son did take some money out of his bank account. It wasn't much, but after 2 years of college, where he took at least a little bit out every month, there's a noticeable difference between his and his twin's accounts, especially since she got a part-time job and put about 50% of that money into the bank account and had the money she made before that. This weekend, my kids were home from college. Their college is only 2 hours drive from us, so they're here most weekends. And we were at a family dinner at my mom's when my son heard my daughter talking with my brother about wanting to start investing. And he joked about how they have so much money anyway, so what does it matter now? And she jokes back that because of that mindset of his, she has more money. He just made a sarcastic face and went back to his conversation. But when we went back home, he asked my daughter to see her bank account. She was confused, but showed it to him anyway, and he got very mad. He was yelling so much nonsense that I still don't even know what he said. But in the end, he told me that I needed to put the difference in his account since it's not fair that she has more money than him. My daughter looked at him like he was dumb and said that she added money from her job and never took any out, and that's why she has more than him. He yelled that he didn't care and that they should have the same amount. I told him that I can't afford to pay the difference, especially as I'm paying for their college, and that if he wants more money, then he should work for it. He went red in the face and stormed into his room. He hasn't talked to any of us yet, and my daughter has told me that he won't even look at her and that even his friends had noticed that something is wrong with him and came to ask her about it. I don't know what to do. I don't want him to distance himself from us and his friends because of this, but I can't and am not willing to pay the difference. His sister worked hard for that money, and it's not fair for her if he will just get it too. Question is, am I the astronaut for refusing to pay the difference in my kids' bank accounts? Hell no. In my opinion here, I think you as a parent have an obligation to take this further, though. He's acting like a little entitled shit stain right now. And this is where you need to highlight the lesson that he's learning right now and say, look, she has more money because she worked harder and saved. That generally is how life is going to work, kid. And you're not always going to be there for him to ask. Like, who is he going to ask when he's an adult and his sister is much more successful in life because she's actually put forth effort? Who is he going to approach at that point and be like, I want it too? Who? The government? Good luck. That's not how life works. And teaching him that right now is your responsibility as a parent, right? So his poor future wife, Miss Krish. Yeah. Well, this is the time when he can get that shit straightened out, right? They're in college. They're 18. Oh, well, they might be older than 18 now. It sucks that he doesn't know this yet, but this is the time, and probably because he's in college, this is the time where you don't have a lot of time to really drive this lesson home before he's out there on his own. OP. So I would make as big of a deal of it as possible. Pain creates change, right? This is pain, dude. The pain that you're feeling of not having as much as someone else might require some change so that you never have to feel like this again. What change does it require? How could you approach this differently so you never have to feel like this again? Let's talk about that. Take that approach, OP. Show your child how they can change things to never feel like this again, because it obviously was enough pain for them to just recluse, right? Friends knew something was wrong, stormed off. He's at least 18 years old. It was an awfully dramatic response here. Maybe it's enough pain. Maybe. But if it's not, I think you got to drive it home a little bit more and be like, look, if you're 36 and you pull this same shit, who do you think's supposed to make it right? Life is never going to be fair. Nobody's ever going to have the exact same things. And the amount of effort that you put into something will determine the amount of output you get out of it. It's just like class. If he takes a test and gets a shitty grade, but someone sitting next to him who studied harder got a good grade, does he go to his professor and say, I want the same grade, even though I didn't do the work? Which begs the question, OP, in your kid's life to this point, have you spoiled the shit out of him? Why at 18 plus does he still have this mentality if he wasn't raised this way? Got some work to do. I know that much. There's some work to do. He needs to learn the lesson right now. And preventing him from learning that lesson is unfair. It's a detriment to him as an adult later in life. It's also a direct detriment, an immediate detriment to the daughter who actually worked hard. This story is from the AITA subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Not Sacrificing One of My Children's Activities Over the Other? I am a single dad of 2 girls, Gigi 14 and Penelope 8. Their mother left when the girls were younger. I don't have a huge support system outside of the girls' afternoon nanny, whom I'm very grateful for. Gigi has played soccer since she was 6. She's raised through the ranks of the local league. She does regular soccer in the spring and fall, then indoors in the winter. Penelope plays hockey. Saturdays can be a little hectic with both of these, but it's worth it given how passionate they both are for these. I always make sure that they have someone at a game and split which ones I go to down the middle. Recently, Gigi's coach approached me about a travel league. It would require me to go out of town with Gigi multiple weekends. I don't have anyone else who could go with her and be a chaperone. We have no family or close friends that could take her. I wouldn't know anyone on the new team right away that would be willing to take her, nor that I would trust right away. Then in terms of Penelope, I'd either have to hire someone to watch her those weekends, which on top of those new lessons and travel would be financially impossible, or Penelope would have to drop out of hockey to come with us. Gigi feels that since she plans on playing soccer through college, while Penelope isn't sure if she'll stick with hockey long term, she should give it up. But Penelope wants to stick with hockey for now. I told Gigi I was sorry, but she'll have to table travel soccer for now, and it may not ever happen. I added, if one of her current teammates joined the travel league and if I knew their parent well enough and the parent was willing, I'd definitely consider it. But as of now, her other teammates aren't joining the travel team. Gigi's coach and a few of her friends' parents feel that this is a sacrifice I should make. Gigi is also pissed with me, but I feel it's not fair for hers to take place over Penelope. I wouldn't let Penelope's activity come before Gigi's either, and I've said that. Am I the astronaut? No, hell no. It's a Kobayashi Maru, right? Like, and as a parent with kids who are involved in a lot of activities, you're gonna run up against multiple Kobayashi Marus. It's gonna happen. You're not going to be able to win on all fronts all the time. You just have to accept that you are going to lose in some ways. Being as completely fair as possible, you have done to this point, but you have reached a point where what you're being asked to do is not possible, because it would create a great imbalance, and also it would be financially impossible here too. So like you said, it's not just the time split. It's not just not being able to go with her those times. It is also the financial part of it is really, really difficult as well. Even if Gigi was able to get some kind of scholarship for traveling team, which I think they do, or get some kind of company sponsor, you could get her sponsored somehow. So the financial part of it could be helped there, but the travel expenses are still part of it. The time is the big thing here though. And like you said, as a single dad of 2, you can't be in 2 places at once. You can't. So you have to think all these through. You have to think about it. The other parents' opinions don't mean shit. Gigi's coach and a few of her friends' parents feel that this is a sacrifice I should make. They don't know your home dynamic. They don't know the kind of decisions you have to make on the regular. They don't know. They don't get a say. Also, did Gigi tell you that they said these things, or did they tell you these things to your face and say you should really make this sacrifice? I'd be shocked if somebody actually came up and said that. They probably really want her on the team. That's one thing. But to tell you your business that you should cause harm to your other child to give Gigi this shot is not something that I feel like it's okay for a stranger or an acquaintance to walk in and be like, you should do this. Like, I know your business. No, you don't. No one else's outside opinion here matters at all, Dad. I think you're not going to be able to make everyone happy all the time. And I know you know that to this point because you've got two busy girls. So this is just one of those cases where it's a tough lesson, but because of the situation that you're in, where you don't have enough help to be able to make it a possibility, it's not a possibility. It is straight up not possible. If she wants to keep running with soccer and she wants to play through college, when she's in college, she's going to be doing essentially the equivalent of travel league. They're going to travel a lot more. She's going to get a lot more of that experience. Yes, it would be better for college if she did travel league right now, but if it's not possible, it's not possible. I mean, hell, I'd love to send all my kids to space camp. It's not feasible at the moment, right? You cannot do things that are possible. But it's an NTA, and I would say, it doesn't matter what all of these other people are saying to you. You know that you're doing the right thing. And there was a great, I don't know whose quote this is, but the quote about negotiations, or when you have a group of people that you're trying to make happy, which is a negotiation, I guess. If nobody's happy, it's a good negotiation. Compromise. If nobody's happy, it's a good compromise. So if one person was happy and one person was pissed, then you would know that you did something out of balance wrong. If nobody's happy, you're doing the right thing. As odd as it sounds in this, but that Penelope, you're just protecting what's already established for her. You're not reducing, you're not adding. Gigi was seeking more, which would have taken away from Penelope, and you said no. And protecting that balance, I think, is very, very important. Gigi's going to be pissed at you for a little bit, but in the long run, they're both going to respect you more for that because you have protected your relationship with the two of them as well, equally. Okay, this story, final story for the day here, is from Petty Revenge, and it is titled, Dad, the Crying Waitress, and the Fart from Hell. My dad was an asshole, a lovable asshole, a compassionate, intelligent, caring asshole, but piss him off, and he became the pettiest asshole you would ever meet. I have so many stories about his pettiness, but this one is one of my favorites. And before anyone asks, I loved my dad fiercely and miss him every day. He passed away too soon. One important thing to know about my dad is that if having the most noxious fart were an Olympic sport, he would have had multiple gold medals. Long car rides with him could be dangerous, and you knew that if Dad was in the toilet before you got there, you waited until anything he left dissipated, especially if he just had a nice rich meal. Dad and I both loved diners, and when we traveled, we would always ask where the good local diners were. On one of our college trips, we arrived at our hotel a little early and our room wasn't ready. The hotel clerk was very apologetic. Some of their housekeeping staff had called in sick and they were running behind. Since we hadn't had lunch yet, it was around 2:30ish, we asked the clerk for their diner recommendations and they suggested a place not far from the hotel. Off we go to lunch. Y'all, it's been over 30 years, but I still remember how good that food was. And our waitress, Sandy. Why do I remember her name? Because the couple at the table near us kept yelling it over and over and over again. There were maybe 10 people in the restaurant total, and Sandy was taking care of most of them. She was on the younger side, but knew her stuff. I always like to ask what the staff likes when I'm making my decisions, and she told me what she liked, what they were known for, and what the day grill cook excelled at. As Dad and I were thoroughly enjoying our food, we watched this couple treat Sandy like she was stupid. They sent their food back multiple times and said nasty things about Sandy so loud that we had no trouble overhearing them. Every time Sandy came to drop something off or check on us, she just looked more and more upset. Since we weren't in a hurry and the restaurant wasn't busy, we lingered over our meal, ordered dessert, and were still there when the mean couple paid their check. You paid at the cash register, and told Sandy quite loudly that since her service was so bad, all they were leaving her was $1 tip, and they thought that was being generous. They left, and when Sandy came back to give us our check, she looked like she had been crying. Dad went to pay the check and gave her a very generous tip. When we got in the car, he was pissed, and I got to hear a lecture about how if he ever found out I treated a server like these people had, he would whoop my ass no matter how old I was. We get back to the hotel and had just checked in when another couple walked into the lobby. They headed towards the elevator that we were headed towards, and Dad and I both realized that it was the nasty couple from the restaurant who had been so mean to Sandy. We got on the elevator with them. They were staying on a floor above ours. Just as the door opened on our floor and I was walking out, my dad paused, let out a large, noxious fart, and said, "That's for Sandy," and then walked off, smiling as the elevator door closed, hotboxing the nasty couple in with his equally nasty fart. I laughed so hard I cried. I do feel bad for anyone else who had to ride in that elevator after that. That is fantastic. Too long don't read. Couple was rude to a waitress and made her cry, so my dad farted in their elevator and left them to stew in the stink. First edit, thank you guys for all the love for my dad. He was truly one of a kind. Unfortunately, we didn't make it back to the diner to tell Sandy about Dad's avenging fart. Glad I could bring a little levity into your day. That is wonderful. Big round of applause, because now, like, I'm adding that to my playbook. Should we ever need to avenge a server or someone else, and we see somebody get into an elevator that we're going to be in, I'm not going to wait until we get out. Candy Thunder's face.
But then you're just gonna.
Yeah, I'll just tell you to hold your breath. They won't have that advantage. The farting Avenger. Yes. Who's the strongest Avenger? Who's the strongest smelling Avenger? Yeah, there you go.